it was National University of Rwanda in Huye. Later on, she took a master's courses in Antioch University in New England in the United States of America. And now she is the associate program specialist at the UNESCO, based in Paris at the headquarters. And she is in charge of 13 countries in terms of implementing the World Heritage Convention. And those countries include Rwanda. I'd like to greatly welcome her, and it's very nice to have her in the house. I'm very eager to hear from his talk.
Well, thank you so much, Vena, for such a warm presentation, introduction. I feel really very honored to be here. So if you allow me, I'm going to quickly share my screen. So, Mr. Share. So, you will let me know, please let me know once you can see my screen.
Not
I
yet
don't.
now. We don't see it yet.
Okay. Yeah, share. Yes, I have to click here. Yes. Can you see my screen?
Of course.
Can I put in a presentation mode?
Yes.
Of course, yes.
Yes. Okay. Put in a slideshow. Yes. So thank you again, Vena, for this wonderful welcome. So I would like to say that it's a big honor for me to be here. And greetings to everyone, familiar faces, former colleagues, and former professors of university. It is a big pleasure for me to be here with you today. To come back home, I feel like I'm back home because I was groomed and grew up in the University of Rwanda, former NUR, and the biology department, zoology and conservation. And so some of you really raised me, and it's a big pleasure for me to come back and to share with you a little bit of what I do right now in UNESCO. It's also a joy to see one of my colleagues, Dominique Funabandi, who most of you know, who works at UNESCO National Commission in Rwanda. So today we are going to, learn a little bit about the World Heritage. Yeah, you may ask yourself, you know, why why UNESCO, why World Heritage, and what is the link between the two? And how does someone like me, who is a biologist, as a pure scientist, work here? And what do I do in particular? So, as most of you must know, about UNESCO, which is the United Nations Educational, Scientific, and Cultural Organization, which was created after the two world wars in 1945, following the tragedies that happened and destroyed the world, when global leaders came together and decided that we must use education, science, and culture to create peace in people's mind, because at that time there was no more peace. So this organization was established to bring back people together by using education, science, and culture. So World Heritage Convention is part of the 6 conventions of UNESCO culture sector. So there are 6 cultural conventions, and World Heritage is one of those. So why did countries adopt World Heritage? So in 1972, there have been discussions about the preservation of culture sites, And there was another movement also on the conservation of natural sites. And after the the Second World War, they decided to bring these concepts together, the concept of nature and cultural sites protection. Why? Because mostly they have recognized that humans, people, for them to understand each other, first of all, they have to respect each other's cultures. So the cultural heritage preservation is about recognizing that we are different, we come from different cultures, and we have to respect each other, way of thinking, way of understanding, and way of living. But the concept of natural heritage preservation is also, you cannot separate people from nature because we are intertwined and we depend on each other. However, when it comes to balancing nature and culture, it has always been a problem because human errors tend to, kind of, over, destroy nature. So this movement was created, the movement of World Heritage for nature and culture preservation was created to recognize that we cannot live without nature. We need nature and we depend on each other. Therefore, we must protect both the people and the nature. So I think I have a short video that I would like Vena to share with you so that you understand in summary what World Heritage is, and then from there we can move on to other elements. But first of all, let's watch this video to understand clearly what is the World Heritage in nutshell. So Vena, let me stop sharing my video, my presentation, and maybe you can project the World video.
Yes, thank you, Enat. Do you see my screen?
Yes, I see it.
Okay.
In order to learn from the devastation and destruction
Can you hear voices?
of two world wars, to promote
You hear the voice?
Yes.
understanding between peoples and to secure peace, UNESCO was founded in 1945 as the Educational, Scientific and Cultural Organization of the UN. A remarkable event strengthened further international cooperation. Following the construction of a dam in the 1960s, the ancient temples of Abu Simbel were literally on the verge of sinking. An international rescue mission prevented this by dismantling the monuments and rebuilding them on higher ground. This successful project raised awareness about the fact that all over the world there are places that are of outstanding value to all mankind and which therefore must be protected from threats such as armed conflict, deliberate destruction, economic pressure, natural disasters, and climate change. The idea of the World Heritage was born. In 1972, the first member states of UNESCO signed the World Heritage Convention and committed to preserving natural and cultural monuments and sites of outstanding universal value on their territory. For a site to be included in the World Heritage List, it must first be nominated by the country in which it was located. The nomination is examined by international experts who decide whether the inclusion in the list is justified. Finally, the World Heritage Committee, a body of 21 elected states, takes a vote. World Heritage Sites shows the diversity of cultures and natural phenomena that are tangible evidence of the bond between human beings and nature. The UNESCO World Heritage contributes to the preservation of these remarkable places and to promoting cultural exchange, dialogue, and peace in a sustainable way.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Vena. So let me go back to my screen. So, so as you understood, so please let me know if you can see my screen. Yes, can you see my screen?
Of course, yes.
Yeah. So, as you understood from that video, the World Heritage was created basically to do what we are trying to do right now, to preserve nature and to make sure that there is harmony between people and nature. And Rwanda, in particular, since we are in Rwanda, ratified this convention in 2000, in the year 2000. We have 196 countries which have ratified this convention, which makes it one of the highly ratified convention in the world. And another uniqueness of this convention, I would say, is it's the only global convention which brings together culture and nature. So this is and one of UN convention which is highly monitored, very very well. So it's a very unique in that sense. So as you understood that the role of countries are to identify sites which have to be on the World Heritage List. So once the country identified the World Heritage sites, we have what we call advisory bodies. These are institutions, technical institutions, scientific institutions, which help to evaluate nominations dossiers. So here, for cultural heritage sites, we have what we call International Council on Monuments and Sites, ICOMOS, and we have what we call the International Center for Study of Preservation and Restoration of Cultural Property. For natural heritage, you all know IUCN. So IUCN is our advisory body. So they help us in doing technical reviews of documents, studies, and field missions as well. So these are the three advisory bodies to the World Heritage Convention. And as I said, how do we select sites? How are sites put in the UNESCO World Heritage List? There is what we call the outstanding universal value. So the role of the countries is to look on their national territory to see which sites have the value which transcends national boundaries to be of a common importance of future generation for all humanity. So these sites, they have to have something special, which is useful for the entire humanity. And once these sites are selected, let's say for now, we take example of Nyungwe National Park, which most of you are aware of. It's a national park since long time ago. So Rwanda has decided to protect Nyungwe for the preservation of biodiversity. But Rwanda have realized that Nyungwe can even is actually important not only for Rwandans, but for the entire humanity. And Rwanda selected Nyungwe and developed what we call nomination dossier. And this dossier was submitted to UNESCO World Heritage and advisory bodies, which is IUCN, to study the dossier of Nyungwe and to see if actually, yes, Nyungwe should be a World Heritage Site, which was accepted, and it was presented to the World Heritage Committee in 2023. This work was done by RDB, by Nyungwe, Nyungwe National Park, by the entire country. Really, it was a long process, but finally it was approved in 2023 and inscribed as a UNESCO World Heritage Site. So once this work is done, the site is inscribed. The following is really the conservation and management and monitoring of the protection and conservation of these sites. So this is this is how the process goes. So currently we have 1,241 World Heritage properties, including 972 cultural properties and 235 natural properties and 41 mixed properties. So we have sites that are culture. You can see that the highest percentage is for culture sites. We have also nature and mixed properties, which is sites which have both culture and nature criteria. So how do we, what are the criteria for selections? So we have 10 criteria, and each type has its own criteria. Nature heritage sites, they have 4 criteria, and cultural heritage as well as mixed heritage. So 6 for culture and 4 for nature. So I won't go in details of each of criteria, but some of them consist of physical and biological formation. You have sites where you have species, of importance, unique species where you have a physical formation which are unique, and sometimes also ecological processes where you have sites like lakes which have been formed for several ecological processes or geological processes. So there are different ways to categorize sites based on criteria. And you have also what we call mixed sites, where you can find that in one site you have several cultural and natural criteria. So, since most of us who are here, I know we are mostly interested in natural heritage sites, I brought some kind of a few statistics, and most of us are scientists, so we like to know, why should we care, really? What is it? What does World Heritage tell us about, biodiversity conservation and climate change? So I can say that the World Heritage, first of all, this is a map that shows a little bit of the distribution of World Heritage sites, natural heritage sites. They make up less than 1% of the Earth's surface. However, they are home to more than 20% of the world's recorded species. And they have more than 75,000 species of plant and 30,000 species of mammals, birds, fish, reptiles, and amphibians. They are refuge for 1/3 of the world's elephant, tigers, and pandas, and home to at least 1 in 10 great apes, giraffes, lions, and rhinos. They have more than 69 million hectares of forest that absorb 190 million tons of carbon CO2 per year. So, and also one thing that was observed is that in these natural heritage sites, at least for Africa, it's a space for more than 50 million people who live in these sites. So, and 90% of the sites provide jobs, and 2/3 of these are crucial for water sources, and they prevent natural disasters and floods and landslides. So these are just a few statistics that were, combined, put together to show the importance of natural heritage sites in biodiversity and climate change. So you may ask me, interested to know what heritage sites in Africa, how are we doing? I think in the previous slide, you saw that we have about 1,241 sites. Africa is underrepresented, and it's a big problem. It's a big problem. It's also a shame because, as you know, Africa is a cradle of humanity. But today only 8% of inscribed sites are found in Africa, which means 112 properties from 38 countries. So this is a big problem. And another biggest problem is even the sites that are inscribed, from Africa, they are categorized in what we call the sites in danger. So the sites which are in danger, it means these sites are threatened. They are in danger because of several issues. There is a lot of armed conflict problem. There's poaching, infrastructure development, mining, and uncontrolled timber harvesting. So these are some of the threats, the biggest threats of African World Heritage Sites. And it makes it a big priority for UNESCO. So this is a big priority because we are asked to really protect these sites in a special case, in a special way, because we have, first of all, to increase the number, but also to increase the management and protection of these natural heritage sites in Africa. So among the countries which don't have sites inscribed yet, we have in East Africa, Djibouti, Somalia, South Sudan, Burundi, Comoros, Southern Africa is Swatini. So these are some of the countries that still don't have sites, not one. While actually, when you look at in Europe, you have sites, countries like Italy, where they have something like 20 sites, China and others. So the fact that we still have these countries which don't even have one site inscribed on their territory, which doesn't mean that they actually don't have, it means they need to be accompanied. They need to be aware and to be accompanied to know the importance of having these UNESCO heritage sites and the benefits of it, because there is a huge benefit of having World Heritage Sites. So some of the key challenges, as I said previously, there is a lot of challenges of preserving natural heritage sites, but a few of them, we have conservation challenges and institutional challenges. Sorry, I think there is someone's mic which is open. So I was saying that one of the key challenges we are facing in Africa for natural heritage sites is habitats, conservation challenges, including habitat loss, poaching, climate change, and also armed conflict. Most of the sites that are in Africa, they are found in areas where there is a lot of conflict, and this is a big problem. We also have one of the biggest challenges is poor governance, lack of policies, and poor implementation. There is insufficient capacity for implementation and even awareness of the World Heritage Convention. This is a big problem because I think even in Rwanda, although we have ratified this convention, it is only recently that Rwanda really started to be involved, to be very active in the implementation of the World Heritage Convention. And we have many other global conventions. We have CBD, we have other conventions, the Ramsar Convention, which Rwanda ratifies, and really implement very well. But the UNESCO World Heritage Convention wasn't really the key, on the top. And in terms of the implementation, we also, as you all know, we also have MAB Convention, the MAB program of UNESCO, which is well known. So we have seen that there is really a lack of awareness or insufficient awareness and capacity in the implementation of World Heritage. So there is also visibility is a big problem. People haven't understood well what is the benefit of having a World Heritage Site. There is insufficient coordination between ministries of mining, culture, because the biggest problem with World Heritage is that these sites are managed by different ministries, or they are affected by different ministries. Ministry of Agriculture, Ministry of Water and Energy, Mining, Culture, Environment, Development, and security sometimes. So all these ministries have to work together. And this is something that hasn't been, sufficiently coordinated in most countries, in particular Africa. Of course, we also have the political instability and armed conflict, which doesn't help the implementation of the convention. So when I was presenting, this is one slide before I finish my presentation. One of the things that I thought about to share with you, and something, lessons learned for the last 6 years I've been working for World Heritage is, as a biologist, you may ask yourself, how does one study biology, chimpanzees and gorillas and plants and what, and find themselves working in this type of conventions? I think one of the things I learned is that in our universities, in our studies, first of all, in Africa, we are not aware of these conventions. We don't learn in our curriculums, we don't have such topics. While in Europe, in many other countries, they have these topics like World Heritage. And when we talk about conservation of nature or environmental protection, most of the times these things fall into policies. International policies, conventions, global conventions are very important. Policies are very important for managing nature and protecting nature. However, most of the time, young people or scientists, we shy away from these topics and these conversations. Most of the time, multilateralism is something we only leave for politicians. But I realize that scientists have a big role to play. Researchers like you people, my colleagues, researchers, we all have a role to play in these global conventions and global conversations. But it is something which is not well talked about. People don't know, in particular, I know there are some students here who are from university who always ask themselves, what do we do? We are interested in political, environmental politics, global conventions. Where do we learn about these things? Most of the time are not talked enough in our classrooms, and they are not really, this information is not shared. But policies and government politics, they are the one who really decide on the future of nature conservation. These policies are the one political decision determine, funding resources. You may be interested in creating an NGO, a conservation NGO, but you ask yourself, where do I get funding? But honestly, I've realized that there is a lot of funding for nature conservation out there. The problem is we don't know exactly where to find it. And most of the time they are within our ministries, our policymakers, and it's up to us as scientists to go to remind the policymakers about the importance of these different, venues and source of funding for nature conservation. So I figured that as part of my presentation today, it's really a call for everybody here who is interested in, fighting for environment, working for nature, and really getting out there, getting funding, to know that there is a lot happening outside our countries and in different rooms in multilateralism, in the United Nations agencies, which they don't tell us about in schools, and so we need to learn, yes, the science of the things, the statistics, climate change is real, everything, but also how do we get our politicians, how do we get our leaders interested in knowing, in really, discussing with us about the issues that we are seeing, and how do we connect our knowledge, how do we be useful to the world by using the science we have and not keeping it just to ourselves, but sharing it with the world. For instance, when we wanted to help Rwanda to develop the dossier for Nyungwe, we had to work with many scientists in Rwanda. We worked with the Center of Excellency, and we worked with different It is very rare to see a nomination dossier which is done by only one person. Oftentimes you will see that you need botanists, you need zoologists, you need people who know about management, you need business people. So to put together, to defend a site as being of a universal value, of outstanding universal value, you need all these people to work together, researchers, GIS experts, because they need to produce maps. And the problem is we don't really work together later. So I think we all have a role to play in making sure that these sites are preserved, are protected, and people like you in University of Rwanda, really you can help Rwanda in continuing to protect these sites by using your knowledge. But I think most importantly is we need to be aware. So maybe these are conventions, these are talks that we need to have in our universities, in our schools, that we have a role to play in the world. And just to end by encouraging students who are here that your knowledge matters, your knowledge is needed in the global stage of work conservation, nature conservation. And I would just say that my biggest dream is to see many of us. I am very happy to see some of my colleagues working with UNESCO World Heritage. When I joined UNESCO, I started a mentoring program, which I want to talk to you about. Which I see Blaise Binama is here. Some of the people from University of Rwanda are part of that World Heritage Mentoring Program, where we recruit African experts in nature conservation to join World Heritage Network as experts. And then whenever we need expertise from several countries in the world, because some of you are international experts, you are not only expert on Rwanda, you are international expert, then we have a database of African experts on nature heritage. So just to tell you that, we have, in Rwanda, we have trained, we have 2 mentees from UNESCO World Heritage. In every African countries, we are trying to get at least 1 person who could represent a country. And we would like to get more of you people who will be interested in really supporting the work of World Heritage and UNESCO. And so with that, I thank you so much and happy to listen, to answer, and to listen to you in particular, to get a feedback of what you think, and if you have any questions, please feel free. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Enathe. And like to say that this presentation was great. I am inspired, especially by the work you do and also how much you climbed quickly until Paris in UNESCO. That's very wonderful. I want to go in the chat room to see questions, and I would like to invite my colleagues here to just raise the hand if they want to say something, or type a question or comment in the chat room. I saw a question from Bariyanga Jean Damascene. He is asking, what are you doing to increase inscribed African sites? You can
Yes, I can answer to that. Yes. So thank you so much. That's a very good question. What is UNESCO doing to increase the number of African watershed sites inscribed? It's a very interesting question, and it's very, it's a big task. As I told you, one of the things I realized when I joined UNESCO is to realize that there is a lack of expertise. There is a lack of African presence in these World Heritage Conventions. And that's when we started with capacity building. One of the key things to let, to really increase the number of sites is to, first of all, to raise awareness about the convention on the continent. And by doing so, increase the number of African experts, because these conventions were created 52 years ago. Africa at that time didn't have the infrastructure, the development that Europe had and Asia had at that time. So right now, we need the pool of experts in Africa who can help governments, because as you know, these are intergovernmental conventions. So we need governments to have experts, people like you who are in universities, who can help them, first of all, to identify and select sites, because that's the number one job of the government. They have to select sites of potential outstanding universal value. And then you have to provide data, because governments need data to prove that actually these sites are of outstanding universal value. They are of human, global importance. Then you need the monitoring and conservation, because even once a site is described, it still needs to be protected in the future. So we need scientists, we need people like you to continue to help government to protect these sites, because if a site is not well protected, it will get out of that list. So capacity building is number one. Another thing is raising funding. So as you saw, one of the benefits of joining the convention is to gain, to get the source of funding. There is a World Heritage Fund, which raises something around $4 million a year. And this funding, every year, we encourage countries to apply for funding. And this funding goes towards protection and management of these sites. So we have a lot of donors interested in supporting Africa, but in particular to help them to raise the number of sites. So I would say that the biggest question we have in Africa is not necessarily the number of sites. We have the biggest problem is the conservation, the protection of the existing one, because the objective shouldn't really be about increasing the number. Of course, we want all these countries to have at least one site inscribed. However, even the ones that have sites inscribed, we realize that they are not well protected, and this is not good. And the objective is to make sure that we start to support nature conservation on the national level. And UNESCO has, done, we have a lot of donors, we have a lot of funders to really work with us. We work with IUCN to help governments. So far, Rwanda has been really championing a lot of activities on the World Heritage Committee. So we are doing well in East Africa, but we still have a long way to go. But at least I can proudly say that this year, East African countries, all of them will have at least one site. We have a South Sudan dossier, we have Comoros, Somalia. We are trying to develop something, but we have out of 4 countries in East Africa which don't have sites. Hopefully this year, all of them will submit a site to be inscribed. I hope I answered to that question. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you very much. I want to welcome Jean-Pierre Nsenganeza. He had the hands up. And then Dominique Bonavandi. Then I will return to the chat room after. Jado,
Yes,
please.
Vena. My question was almost the same as for very. It was almost the same question, so I didn't realize it pasted in the chat. But
Okay, thank
I
you
get
very much.
good response.
Yeah, you understood your role also. Yeah, Dominique, you are welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Vena. Yeah, thank you, Nata. I hope you are doing well in Paris. Yeah, we have enjoyed your presentation, and it's really very interesting presentation because we need to really understand this 1972 World Heritage Convention. Because now, as Rwanda, we are much concerned. We have a site to promote. And since September 2023, we got this nomination. And the heavy task now is just to take advantage of the nomination we got. Now, looking at the challenges you highlighted, I want to emphasize on what should be the role of a center like this Center of Excellence in Biodiversity, which is a UNESCO center. I can say this is not the right time. You know, this presentation would have been done maybe some years back because the center has got nomination also some years back. But this right now, we cannot take advantage of this and see critically what should be the role of the center or university or research institutions to address these issues of awareness. Because university, you have access to young people, you have access to future scientists who can transmit, who can disseminate all knowledge, skills, or opportunities associated to this convention. So we would like to learn from other countries you are coordinating at the headquarters, whether we can borrow some models we can use so that we take advantage of this center, what this center has to offer to us, and then the role of the universities or research institutions. And my second point is, it's like information, we have already talked about it. We have a national committee to implement this convention. Each and every country member of UNESCO should have a committee. Here in Rwanda, we have a committee responsible for implementing the convention. Yeah, but we still have challenges. So again, we need to see countries that demonstrate some kind of maybe can we put this in the curriculum, because we don't have this convention in our normal academic setting. We get it as extracurricular component like these opportunities. This can be the role of the committee here, because we need to say, okay, since we have the committee, what channel can we use in it? Because the issue we have here in Rwanda is that this convention looks like it's a new convention, and we have already ratified as a country almost 25 years ago. And then we managed to get nominations, Nyungwe, but here you can also add the 4 genocide memorials also part of this convention. But also, you know, we need to have tentative list. So what do we have on the list? If we are to nominate in the next coming years, you know, in the future, do we have at least a tentative list where we can pick, you know, the dossier to be analyzed or to be submitted to UNESCO? So it's not a question, it's like open discussion. Yes. Because we have pool of researchers here. I can see like Dr. Andrew, I was with him last 2 days. So we need to see what can we do as a university, what can we do as a center of excellence, so that we get this convention at the level of other conventions we have here in the country. You know, we have, you know, we know all of that. So otherwise, thank you for your time. It was a really very interesting presentation. Since this convention looks like new to us. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. I think I'm going to stop sharing because I would like to follow the questions. There's a lot of questions on the chat, and I will ask Venan maybe to share the presentation with people who may be interested. I see Claude, I see people who are asking to share. So I think to respond to Dominique, I agree with Dominique about the issues and what we can do as Rwandans scientists. The center, for instance, the Center of Excellence is a UNESCO Category 2 center. This is a big task. This is a big status. And one of the things that I was discussing with Venant and maybe with Venus, we can explore more, and with you in particular, Dominique, is to see how can the center help in establishing a network of UNESCO professionals, like experts or professionals on UNESCO designated sites. Because apart from World Heritage, we have MAB, the Biosphere Reserve Program, which is well known. It has Volcano National Parks, it has Mukura Gishwati National Park, it has many other potential. We have the Geoparks Program. These are within UNESCO program, and then if we get them together and we create like a network of professionals or experts on UNESCO designated sites under, the National Commission and the Center of Excellency, we could do a lot. We could do trainings, we could create programs, projects, fundraise for projects. And this is something I've seen some countries are doing. So this is an example of what we can do in Rwanda using the Center of Excellency to really use the knowledge of the people we have, because people we have at university and in different institutions have the knowledge we are seeking. We have birders, we have botanists, we have primatologists. All these people, their knowledge is needed. Like, for instance, when I joined UNESCO, honestly, I didn't know about World Heritage. I'm not going to lie to you because I didn't learn this thing in school. I knew about MAB because MAB is really very well known in Africa because of its concept of people. But World Heritage for me was very new. And I didn't know exactly, because I even remember it's really a joke to share. When I was in my interview, I was talking about MAB all the time. And when I joined, and luckily, Dominique, Noeline, who is part of the MAB program, she was on my panel interview and she was laughing. And when I joined, she said, "You need to come to work for MAB because you are talking about MAB all the time and sustainable development." But so I realized that these are conventions that are really mostly Eurocentric. They are known in Europe, in Asia, but they are very important for Africa as well. So one of the things we are doing in our department in Africa is we have an education program. We want to include World Heritage in university curriculums. So we are approaching a few universities in Africa, one in Tanzania, Mweka College, one in Senegal, one in Cameroon. There is one in Kenya as well. We are trying in South Africa, Cape Town. We're trying to enter this university for them to champion the curriculum of World Heritage in their normal curriculum. So the work is long. We still need to include these concepts in our curriculums so that students can learn about World Heritage, but this doesn't exist. And most of things are happening, which means, like, as you said, Dominique, people are benefiting a lot from these global conventions, because that's where the politicians, that's where countries get together and make decisions on funding, on on capacity building, on job creations. Tourism, like for instance, for tourism, when you have such a label, many European tourists, American tourists, they check World Heritage status. So if a site is inscribed, they get more number of tourists because of that label. Because to have such a label, it means you are doing perfect work. And I think that's what we need. We need, first of all, African countries, Rwanda, we need, thank that we have Dominique here from UNESCO National Commission and we have Venus, we have people from RDB, you know, you can use that National Heritage Committee to create a platform of heritage experts. And from UNESCO, we can help you to bring programs in Rwanda to help everyone. Thank you. I don't know if there's any other question.
Yeah, I want to welcome a question of Christian Ishimwe. Then we'll go to the chat room after him and answer only question is asked already. I'd like to request anyone here to not ask any further question, but the comments are allowed. Ishimwe Christian, you are welcome.
Thank you so much. My name is Ishinge Christian. I'm the managing director of the Roots of Nyabingi Heritage Center, which is under Burera Youth Community. So our heritage is located in Burera district. So the question is, we're still having a problem because of some sites are owned by the people, the local citizens. So to protect those sites, it's coming a bigger challenge because you can protect a land where you don't having the right to protecting it. So the second question, I would like to know how can we collaborate with the UNESCO Rwanda, and so how can we get a chance to get on that. They told about the money each year they contribute to helping the Heritage Center so that even as we can be eligible to apply on it. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Christian, for that question. A great question. And I'm happy to learn that there is a heritage. You know, I didn't know that what's called Nyabingi Heritage Center. I don't know.
Yes, it's the Roots of Nyabingi Heritage
Yeah,
Center.
please, if you can write that name down there, I would be interested to learn more about what you do. And then maybe Dominique, together we can see how to reach out to you as well. So the issue of land ownership is the Roots of Nyabingi Heritage Center. It's really important, interesting. So we are planning with the National Commission and RRDB and the embassy here to do a capacity building in Rwanda to bring people and institutions that are working on any heritage sites, culture or nature, to map out sites with potential, heritage sites. So Rwanda, unfortunately, the list of Rwanda has no site on tentative list. What we call a tentative list is a list we develop as a country before it goes to UNESCO list. So that list is called a tentative list. So people like you and many other people have to get together, have to be brought together to tell us, why do you think these areas are important to be protected? Because these are things because you live there. We have some places in the northern province of Rwanda where communities have been protecting some trees or some land or some plants. I don't know. These areas have to be mapped out and presented to, UNESCO Commission or the National Committee or RDB to say, we believe these sites have to be protected on national level. So first of all, you have to work hard to get your site known in Rwanda and to get it registered as on a specific protection status, because it is the role of the country, first of all, to protect that site on a national level. If the site is not protected on a national level, it is a problem. It is very hard for it to get to UNESCO site, list. So first of all, if you believe the sites in your region area has a potential for, global protection or national protection, you should raise that. I think there are leaders in the district or other in charge of environment or in charge of culture to whom you can present that idea. And then these institutions are in charge of making sure the sites have some kind of protection. with laws and rules and regulations in land ownership, land, because there has to be policies and rules. So if those communities who own the area don't want to protect it, it's going to be difficult. That's why we also need community engagement. You need to engage those local people to tell them that we should protect our place. We should make it a protected area or a conserved area. There is several type of protection level. So we will be happy to learn if you have an interesting cultural site to present to UNESCO. You can either contact Dominique. Maybe Dominique can give his contact, or even me. You can ask Vena, who could share my contact, and we can go through together. We can see their criteria on how a site should be, listed, or if that site has met some criteria or requirements to be called a heritage site on a national level and on an international level. I hope I answered your question.
Yeah, thank you very much, Enat. I want us to go through the chat room to answer questions from there. I want to start with the question from Fidel Mbitezimana. He's saying, given the rising role of young people in environmental stewardship, is there any way that UNESCO is supporting youth from different backgrounds, especially in Africa, not only in awareness and capacity building, but also in the active participating in the protection and the sustainable management of World Heritage Sites?
Thank you, Vena, and thank you to what's his name, Fidel Mbitezimana, for such a question. This is a very important question. First of all, I would like to say that UNESCO has two global priorities, which are Africa and gender, and it has two small priority, minor priorities. Other priorities as youth and the seeds. Seeds are countries in the small islands and developing the small island sites countries. So the young people, what has UNESCO done to support? There is actually, we have a youth program in World Heritage. So I'm going to talk about World Heritage. We have a big department of youth, and we have youth volunteer program where we invite young people from Africa and other worlds to submit their interest in being part of the network of volunteer in the World Heritage System. So I could share in the chat, I could share the link to those information if you are interested to join the network of UNESCO Youth Program. Yeah. And there are so many opportunities of youth. There are so many things that youth can do. But as I said, in Rwanda, let's start. We have the Center of Excellency. We have the National Commission. Let's start by building something in the country, and then UNESCO will always support those initiatives.
Great, thank you very much. Could you please put in the chat those links?
Yes.
Yeah, and I would register here that in the chat there is a link, and I would like you to register as the attendance record, and I will also use that list to share with you the PowerPoint presentation of today. If we can continue with questions, there is a question from Jean-Pierre Hakizimana. Actually, it's two questions. The first one is saying how UNESCO is supporting in addressing climate change that threaten the natural and the cultural heritage. You can answer first that question before I go to the second one.
So thank you for that question. So the question is about how UNESCO support, the protection of biodiversity, climate. I'm trying to get the question clear.
Uh, is wondering whether UNESCO is supporting in addressing climate change, actually.
Uh-huh.
That's the main
Yes.
question.
So I think that's what I try to present on which slide, so World Heritage Sites in general. So UNESCO has different, sectors. There is a sector of science, which actually Dominique is an expert in. There is a science sector where they do everything science related, natural resource management, climate change, biodiversity, everything, sustainable development and biodiversity. So I work in culture sector, but in that culture sector, we have natural heritage protection and cultural heritage. So in terms of UNESCO sites, UNESCO designated sites in general, UNESCO has several sites designated. And as I showed you, most of the sites are the key, they are home to so many species. And so by UNESCO asking countries to better protect those sites, to better inscribe and give legal protection, because when a site is inscribed, it means the government take a responsibility. They commit to a better protection and monitoring. What we do in World Heritage is we have a very strict monitoring program and reporting program. Like countries have to report to us every year of what they've been doing in terms of management plans, implementing management plans, activities, and of course we have funding for them. Let's say sites, that are inscribed, like Nyungwe National Park, which normally it was a national park, but now it has been promoted to being an international UNESCO heritage site. Now it has set the bar very high, which means Nyungwe will be watched by the global international community. So whatever happens, Rwanda will be asked to protect that site in a specific manner. And it will receive a lot of support from international community because Nyungwe has become a UNESCO site. So by having your site a UNESCO site, you increase your chance to protecting more that site and to having more research done, to having more studies conducted and more programs, community programs implemented, because you have a chance to reach donors, to reach international communities. And that's what I say, that when we don't inscribe these sites, we are lacking a lot of potential. But by putting them there is also an obligation. For instance, World Heritage Sites are not compatible with mining. So, and other threats, other development infrastructure, like big, dam, hydropower dam or big reservoir. So there is a lot of also obligations that come with inscribing World Heritage Site. That's why we advise countries before submitting sites to be inscribed, they have to understand that it's a big of an obligation and responsibility. But to respond to your question, yes, UNESCO sites, they protect better site, the biodiversity, climate related issues, because of the standard they have. Their standard is very high. So the level of protection is also very high. And the funding are more available, the visibility and everything. So I don't know if I try to answer your questions. It is a bit difficult one because, as I said, countries are the owner of these sites. It's not UNESCO the owner. It is the country the owner. So the responsibility is still the country's responsibility to protect that site. But when they put it on UNESCO list, then they want also the international community, the UN, to have an eye on what's happening in that site and to support the country in managing and supporting that site. So I think it's just like an added value to have a UNESCO World Heritage Site. It's just an added value into a conservation, in the conservation of biodiversity.
Yeah, thank you very much. And the other question is, what's the initiatives are going on to promote and develop more sites because you have so many? Actually, you answered this question in terms of scientific contribution like data, also the promotion of uh, people at the national level before it is inscribed at the international level. Yeah, I think you cannot go back to that question. I think we can go to. Oh, Jean Pierre wants to say something. Jean Pierre, you are welcome. Just to clarify if there
Yeah,
is.
thank you so much, moderator, for the flow. I thank the presenter for the good presentation, very rich and inspiring.
Mhm.
Yeah, we can actually appreciate the initiatives with UNESCO. I saw Dominique. We meet on different platforms discussing actually how we can preserve these sites. But I want to bring it to your attention. Actually, represent a local NGO working on environment and climate change. And when the presenter was actually showing the linkage between the climate change and the preservation of these sites, it's very critical because we see the adverse effect of climate change, environmental degradation actually affecting the sites. And this is the critical actually to take care of. I want to bring to your attention that there is an organization known as Benirage. Benirage is another Rwandan organization actually working on cultural heritage sites. I think we'll have a separate discussion with Dominique. They are very rich. They discovered many sites that could even be World Heritage Sites. So I think it really deserves to be discussed apart. And but the work of UNESCO is very interesting. The rest is to see how we can actually Enathe can maybe connect with the local organizations to see how we can. We saw that Rwanda has some sites. There are countries that don't have even any, but we are convinced that we have many. You saw Nyabingi sites and others. So to say how can harness the existing opportunities for our country actually to keep shining. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Jean Pierre. I also think like you. I think we have many sites which can be nominated, including the Volcanoes National Park, Akagera National Park, other biodiversity areas, and also cultural things. Yeah, it's our work as scientists to partner with the government institutions like RDB and also the UNESCO office here in Rwanda, so we get more nomination coming.
Maybe to
Yeah.
add, maybe Vena, sorry, I see that
Mhm.
there are colleagues who have questions. I see there is a question from Beth Kaplan. There is Blaise who raised the hand. But maybe to add to what you said about how do we increase, Rwandan sites. First of all, let's work on its tentative list. And that's where I think that the Center of Excellence is really a very good opportunity we have, because the Center of Excellence is already a UNESCO Category 2 center, and it should be helping Rwanda and the whole entire region actually to promote these things we are saying. So I think the center, and glad that we have also, Dominique, we can discuss together on how to do this, to revise the tentative list of Rwanda, to raise awareness, to bring all these people together. So the tentative list is, we will have a meeting like this one when people who know something, who know a site, of potential, will bring their proposal to the table, and they say this is what we think, and they will present, and then we will bring experts, from UNESCO, from IUCN, who can explain to you what are the criteria to become a World Heritage Center or a MAB or whatever. So, and then once you have understood the criteria requirement, then you can go back and do the homework. But these things can be done through a committee that the center can coordinate, and then we will be happy to train, to support people who are interested in developing nomination dossiers. Because as I told you, for every site, we need data. We need the GIS data, we need, botany data, plant data, whatever, biodiversity data. And if we have you, Rwanda, we can have a list, but today we don't have a list, a tentative list for Rwanda. We already have 2 sites, the Genocide Memorial Site and Nyungwe National Park, but that's not enough. I know we can have better, we can have more, but I don't know. So now I think it's up to you, all of you, because Rwanda is ours, Rwanda is yours, and it's particularly the center and the university to bring this discussion together. We have a support of UNESCO, National Commission, and us now.
Yeah, thank you very much. And you also touched to the question of Beth. You said you are going to answer it.
Yeah. So thank you so much, Beth. I think this is a very interesting question because I really wanted at the beginning of my discussion with the center and Venan, I really wanted to talk a little bit about my career and how I got here at UNESCO, because I think as a young Rwandan woman in conservation, all of us know how difficult it is to navigate this field of conservation after university studies. And it's something that I think can speak to many of you who are here, who are still in university or have finished, but are looking for opportunities, really. So I think in some, what I can say in short is really it's a mix of many things. When I finished studies, I've I've realized that there is a lot of a lack of mentoring. So I think one of the things that helped me is the mentoring. I got a very good mentors from University of Rwanda. I really cannot stop to mention the role that my Professor, Beth, the people who have mentored me have had on this career, because the mentorship is very important. This allowed me to know a little bit about the world outside university, because it's very small, it's very closed. It seems very, very small, but it's big actually. But there is a lack of sharing of information in the field of conservation, and it's something I know all of you guys know. So one of the things is I try to reach out to people, and this is what I can maybe encourage you young people who are still looking for opportunities in conservation career, is to reach out, not be shy, to reach out to people who are already in the field, who have jobs in NGOs, in government, and also to really follow the advice of those mentors. Another thing is have the basics. There are some basics outside here, the studies. Right now, most of the jobs and opportunities, they require some level of education. So if you have finished your bachelor's, it will be good to get into a master's degree. Depending on what you really want to do, a PhD if necessary. But these studies are really important. So that's when I finished the university, I worked with the Karisoke Research Center. All of you know it. I worked with the IGCP, International Gorilla Conservation Program, as a volunteer. So I did a lot of volunteering. I did a lot of internships. And this was a little bit exhausting, a little bit hard. But I think without those volunteering and internship, I don't think I would have been here. It's really the honest. So for people who are in university who think like, oh, when I finish school, I will directly get a job in UNESCO or somewhere. I think it's a big lie. It's difficult. So sometimes we have to accept that we need a minimum experience in the work of conservation to to get what we want. And my what really interested me is I had the big willing to learn and to also be useful to the world. As I said, we need to be willing to be useful. When we are willing to be useful to the community, you can do everything, literally. You don't have a boundary. As a woman, you cannot say, oh, I don't go to the wetlands. I want to go to the forest because I'm a woman. No, you will have to go there. I used to work in Akagera National Park wetlands, studying fish diversity. I would sleep in Nyungwe National Park because I knew that I have to go through that, path to understand clearly my field of primatology and biodiversity. So I really think what I learned from this whole journey of conservation from university to international NGOs and also to the United Nations is there is a lot of a lot of things that you have to go through. It is not one path. You can't go from one point to another and just say, oh, from this university I will get a job, because it's not clear out there. But this type of, that's why I like the center, this type of talks that the center organizes, is they allow us to be aware of what exists out there. And we need to participate in these talks, in these forums. We need to be there. We need to be, connected. Connection, connection, connection. This is all I can say. You need to be connected. If you don't have connection, it is very difficult, because the world out here, there's a lot of competition, in particular in conservation, in science. So, and so many people are educated, they have degrees, but you have to be willing really to do what other people are not doing. I don't know what it is, but all of us are unique and we have our own talent. So we have to be able to accept our talent and our uniqueness and then explore the world. I don't know if I managed to answer quickly what Beth said. And another thing I would like to say, I learned so far, maybe a lesson learned, is I used to fear politics. I used to fear policymakers because I thought they weren't like us. They were not like people like us. But I remember in some classes I took in masters, talking about political economy, environment and politics. I didn't understand really the link between the biodiversity conservation and the policies and governance and leadership. But now I realize that there is literally nothing we can do as scientists without entering the world of politics and policies, which means because people are politics. You need to understand, people, which means you have to be into politics and policies. So whoever is interested in, this type of world of, multilateralism, international organization, please get some interest in the policy, biodiversity policies, all these conventions, and maybe you will find yourself, creating something or being more of useful to the world than just waiting for someone to hand you a job or do something. So just to say that, I'm very grateful for my mentors, the people who have helped me, raised me to express and to apply the knowledge. But also, I think we have to be very confident in our knowledge and know that we are needed in this world of conservation. We are very useful. But again, we need to get information. We need to know where this, what's their information. So thank you, Vena. And thank you, Beth, for the questions.
Yeah, thank you very much. It's very inspiring, and I hope every young person here is learning a lot from you. Yeah, before I continue, I want to welcome Blaise. I have seen his hands from many minutes ago. I want him to speak before I go back to the chat.
Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, thank you very much. Great to see you here and benefit from your expertise. Yeah, so for me, it's a little bit of the comment and also maybe we'll end with the question to Enathe. So yeah, I have many people discuss about the challenge facing African countries in increasing the number of sites on the list, and also not mentioned well the challenge faced by Africans. And also you mentioned about the Eurocentric nature of the existing convention criteria, which is really a challenge for many African countries. And yeah, I recall this April this year, there were African conference focused on the heritage integrity. So this was like the main topic about the integrity, heritage integrity. And many potential African sites are currently limited by the current framework of the 1972 convention. As you said, it's more Eurocentric framed. And this really limits many Africans to fulfill the criteria. And I remember because I submitted the paper during this conference, and one of our idea was how to redefine the ecological integrity or integrity in general to accommodate the challenge faced by many African countries. So then I was wondering whether probably you have idea because you worked at UNESCO there, given the challenge faced by African countries, but also Asian, do you think there is a genuine chance for the convention to amended or maybe fundamentally revise the convention in near future to accommodate this challenge faced by the African countries regarding integrity, because the convention mainly see the integrity as the wholeness of the site or intactness of the site. And many African sites are more fragmented. For example, Nyungwe was not inscribed under criteria 9 due to this challenge of fragmentation of Nyungwe and Chamudongo. So there's any chance that this may be reframed to evolve into more fully global standard that proactive take into consideration the unique challenge of integrity, conservation, and the culture context facing African heritage? Yeah, that was my question. Thank you.
That's a very good question. First of all, thank you so much, Blaise, for being here. I mean, colleagues, some of you know Blaise. Blaise is one of the few mentees of UNESCO World Heritage Mentoring Program. So if you have any question on how to join, because now he's IUCN member expert on World Heritage. So this is actually a good opportunity Rwanda has to have Blaise as one of the experts who can help others really to join the convention internationally. So, and we see a lot of potential in New Blaise to help Africa, really, because we have a biggest problem. We have very few heritage and expert on natural heritage in Africa. So we have a big problem. If we cannot speak these themes, we cannot speak these languages of other people, it is very difficult for us to join and really to change, to make a change. So I'm very happy that this conference took place in Nairobi. At least it shows that Africans are waking up to say, wow, people should not make decisions about our biodiversity without us or without our concept in it. So the convention was created in 1972. As you can imagine, many African countries were not developed. So the main things in the conventions are really, they can apply easily to Europe, but not to Africa. But the convention still gives a guidance on how to improve protection of natural heritage sites and conservation. So the issue is how are African countries in the World Heritage Committee going to fight for this? So the first step is done already. They have, I think they have adopted the Nairobi Declaration. Right now, we are trying to do the implementation of it. So recently, there was a meeting in China when China brought together all African experts on heritage to discuss about the implementation of Nairobi Declaration. But again, Blaise, to your questions, it is not about the UNESCO accepting what Nairobi African scientists expert decided or requested. It is up to us Africans really to take ownership, because this is our sites. These are our sites. So we are hoping that, because now UNESCO has a new DG from tomorrow, a new director who is from Egypt, recommended by Africa. So we hope that Africa as a priority will continue to be a priority to UNESCO, and African voice will be heard, because there is imbalance in what we decide in terms of Africa. Like development wise, we have a lot of problems in terms of sites we put in danger. Like we have the convention saying that there is national parks should have no mining. There should be no mining in any World Heritage Site. But the truth is, we are going into a technology world where you can do mining in a very sophisticated way, which will not disturb biodiversity. So that's why what I said, we need scientists, we need technology, biodiversity people who can explain clearly, if we have to do natural resource exploitation, how can it be done so that it won't disturb biodiversity? So we have to have this conversation. We need experts like you, researchers like you, who can do studies related to World Heritage and to challenge the existing concept. So really, I think, Blaise, you have a big role to play. You are now in academia, teaching, researching. We need more papers on World Heritage. We need more PhDs, thesis on World Heritage governance, monitoring and definition, actually, so that the convention, which is backed by scientific studies and scientific knowledge, can integrate Africa's perspective. So that's all I can say now, that it is a very challenging topic. We have to deal with it. We have to work on the convention to make sure Africa's voice, Africa's definition of heritage is defined, is well clear, and it is integrated in the convention. So Asia did it, Blaise. Asia did it some times ago. And right now, that's why you have so many sites from Asia. So right now, I am very optimistic that the World Heritage Committee is going to take care of the Nairobi Declaration. But again, the implementation, the enforcement will depend on the African governments. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. Well explained. Yeah, I want us to learn quickly through the chat room to see questions there before we close the seminar today. Francois Nachunhwaye says, is there any specific time interval to submit World Heritage nomination dossier? Or for example, Rwanda can directly submit other documents to have a second World Heritage site? I think he is wondering whether there is a period in which you receive a dossier, or if you can receive a dossier any time of the year.
No, actually, we have deadlines. So there are specific deadlines to when you can submit a nomination dossier. But as I said, first of all, these sites have to be on Rwanda's tentative list. So the government of Rwanda has to put your site on what we call a tentative list. And I think, Ngoga, I saw Ngoga here. I know there is, Dominique knows that we are developing a project in which we will be organizing a training and inviting people, maybe whoever may be interested in being part of that training, maybe could leave the name. You could let the VENA know that you have an interest in joining this conversation on the tentative list, and maybe Dominique could help in setting up that team of institutions, people who have knowledge and who could like to share. And on the national level, you have to have a list first. So that list have to be submitted to Rwanda. So Rwanda National Commission, it has a committee. There is a committee, and then in RDB you have Ngoga, and then you have, if you are interested, there are people you can share the information with. And then once we have a list, there is a form Rwanda has to fill. So that form has to be filled. So if you want, I think this is something, Vena, we can discuss, we can organize with Dominique to have another presentation, another talk on how to fill the form if you have a site with potential criteria to be on UNESCO list. So we can organize another separate training or like a talk, and then you can share those information, and then the people in the country will know how to submit those to UNESCO. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you very much. And just to clarify, can you also speak on the deadline, the time period of application? Once the tentative list is already established at the national level, what's the period?
So normally the deadline was January 31st. So, or the 1st of February of every year, we receive nomination dossier. But from 2027, every country have to submit what we call preliminary assessment. There is now a process, because before a country could wake up and just submit a dossier to UNESCO by February, 1st of February of every year. That's when UNESCO normally receives nomination dossier. But what we have realized is that sometimes people, countries submit dossier which have no potential really, which are not good. So now with the advisory bodies, there have been a decision that a country has to submit what we call a preliminary assessment request. This is 15th of September. So I could share details and the forms that have to be filled September 15th. We need to receive every request for inscription, which we call for preliminary assessment. So basically, IUCN, if it's natural heritage sites, IUCN will have to study if the site you are submitting has a potential. And then IUCN will have a study for 1 year, and they will send a evaluation later to country to say, yes, you can proceed with submitting your nomination, or no, we don't think you have actually a potential. Your site has a potential. So this allows country to not waste time and money on developing these dossiers, because they are very expensive. They can be quite time consuming. So please know that there is this process called the preliminary assessment, and you have to submit your request for preliminary assessment by 15th of September. So this year it is closed. So we will wait until next year, 15th of September. So what I could advise is before, from now to September next year, if in Rwanda, you realize that there are sites with interest maybe this is where we can start by bringing people together to submit their proposal. And then, we have forms that you can fill with requirements. We can do trainings. First of all, before you submit a request, we need to see, what kind of criteria. You need to know the criteria of selection and everything. A site must have a management plan. It has to have a legal protection. It has to have there is a lot of things that a site must have before going to the tentative list. So
Yeah.
this is
Yeah, thank you very much. That's very clear. I want to remind the people that in the chat room there is a Google sheet, a Google form I would like you to fill, just as the attendance record of today. And anyone who wants the presentation today can also mention that, then I can share it. Then I want to go to the question from Emmanuel Ntivuguruzwa. He's asking why West Africa countries like Sao Tome and Principe missing on the inscribed list while the country is rich in biodiversity and European Union conservation projects have been there for long time, have been for a long time implemented there. So my question is, how conservation activities are being implemented in West Africa while
we can't
is
hear you.
answered in. Yeah, did you hear me reading the question from Emmanuel at least?
Yes, I
Which
understood very
says,
well the question of my Emanuele.
can
So
you respond?
the question he has is about, why these countries still don't have sites inscribed and knowing they have amazing biodiversity. I mean, this is what I said in my presentation. Africa should have many sites inscribed on UNESCO list, but we don't, and hence, and while we are the cradle of humanity started in Africa. We should have a lot of cultural sites. Africa is the most diverse continent on earth, in terms of culture, languages, everything, natural resources. So the issue should be, how can I say, it is on many levels. First of all, as Blaise said, it is the convention itself. How are countries seeing themselves in the convention? Does it speak to the challenges, the reality of the continent? But what I said is mostly the lack of awareness. Some of these countries, they don't really know a lot about the UNESCO Convention. And it is our role here, that's why we are here, to raise awareness about the convention. I cover East Africa, so my job is to make sure countries understand the importance, the benefits of being on UNESCO World Heritage List, and to support them technically in going through the whole process of nomination and then conservation and management. So I think it is not too late. It is a bit late, but it's not too late for countries. And Sao Tome right now, they have a site now which is in pipeline, which has been submitted. So hopefully this year they will have their first site. And one because Sao Tome already did the exercise of submitting one cultural site, actually they have discovered they have a lot of sites. So they have worked on their tentative list. So soon, like next year, we may hear Sao Tome being part of the World Heritage, having sites on the World Heritage. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. That's great. I wanted to go to the last question. Is there from Clement Ningo? What's it? The first question is saying, I am a student studying adventure and culture. How does UNESCO support young people in getting professional internship opportunities related to environmental protection and cultural preservation?
So thank you. I think who did this? I think Dominique already responded to such a question. So in particular in Rwanda, Dominique could give you more like link and inputs to how you can join. There is UNESCO National Commission. You can start from there. They give opportunity for internships. You can start by there. And also, as I said, the Center of Excellency, which is a UNESCO Category 2 center, should be giving more of these opportunities, like at least the capacity building. But for now, there is also, I shared the link to the UNESCO World Heritage Youth Program. There is a volunteer program where you can become a volunteer. And once you are in a volunteer program, then you can be invited to several events and then connect. And then, so there is a lot of opportunities really. But I'm glad that already Dominique has indicated that you can actually work with them as an intern.
Okay, thank you very much. And his last question says, what programs or projects does UNESCO have in Rwanda that focus on protecting culture and environment, where students can actively participate? Maybe this question can be well answered by Dominique. I want to let him come in and tell it to us, talk to us, particularly on the projects going on at UNESCO, supporting culture and development.
Yes, thank you, Vena. Yeah, we have ongoing projects or programs or initiatives in all aspects we are dealing with here in education, natural science, communication, and culture. The programs we have here, they are sometimes cross-cutting. You see projects or programs coordinated by two of our colleagues here in different departments. I provided the website so that Mr. Clement and the other colleagues here can explore in details which program or projects are for their interest. Then they can proceed with their involvement, their contribution. Yeah, but most importantly here, we are making, specifically in the culture, we are making inventory of what we call the intangible cultural heritage across the country. Now we have a list of possible intangible culture we have in the country. It's a database that we are producing, and then it will be accessible very soon. This will help us to know the intangible culture, their details, their identification, location, GPS mapped, and also their advantages or opportunities we can get from all those intangible cultures. Yeah, in natural science, we are implementing programs in research, biodiversity research in Gishwati Mukura Biosphere Reserve. This is a research conducted by the Center of Excellence, UNESCO Category 2. And also the beekeeping project where we are supporting women beekeepers in Gishwati by modernizing their beekeeping practices. So we want them to move from traditional to modern beekeeping. And yesterday and on Monday, we celebrated the International Day of Biosphere Reserve, which was an opportunity to highlight the contribution that Women Beekeep Project is contributing. Yeah. Yes, we have also other initiatives, but not in the culture. They are in science and technology, the use of artificial intelligence in biodiversity conservation and also environment protection. yeah, in fact, we have a list of some initiatives we can collaborate together, but the Center of Excellence is our entry institution when we want to reach more academia and the research expert project or programs. We also want to initiate or to make awareness on what we call the UNESCO Eco-hydrology demonstration site. We are in the process of exploring how we nominate our wetlands here in the country as the international model eco-hydrological site. We have identified that the Nyandungu Eco Park meets the criteria. If the management of Nyandungu is interested, we can explore how we can put the Nyandungu on the map, because the opportunity brings together different expertise and visibility of the good or the project or the programs we are implementing here. So that's another initiative we want to explore this coming months. In education, we have leadership for education for sustainable development, where we are supporting all the teacher training colleges and TVET schools in promoting the leadership in implementing some climate actions or education for sustainable development projects at their schools and their communities around. So we mapped around 25 TTCs. All the TTCs in the country, they are participating in the program. And then there's a program that is making changes, the change in the community, the change in the mindset of the student in addressing their local challenges. So if we explore our website in details, you see a list of other initiatives that we can collaborate on. So I welcome everyone to check on our website and also bring some other ideas to look for how we can implement or how we can take them to the other level. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Dominique, and thank you very much, Enathe, for speaking to us. I cannot thank you enough for the great presentation we had today. And it's clear that this is the longest seminar we have ever had, and it deserves it. Yeah, it was very amazing to have you in the room. And I want to conclude by saying that thank you for also participants to come here and yeah, to remind you, if you never filled the form in the chat room, you can fill it. And I want us to come back regularly to seminars like this, because through them we learn from each other, we grow together. Any concluding word, Enat?
Well, thank you so much, Vina, really for a wonderful, sharing of this talk, and really again for inviting me. I'm available if anyone has more questions. I understand that this deserves more than one presentation, more than one talk, and I think it's just the beginning. It's just the beginning of us talking about UNESCO World Heritage and other UNESCO programs. And so stay tuned, and I look forward to more engagements with you and Dominique and Goga and others who are here really to build this community of experts in UNESCO's matter. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. And you allowed me to share the contacts of you, so someone can contact you if he or she has a further question. Then I put your email in the chat room. Anyone can contact you for any comment, question, idea, guidance, yeah, like that. Yeah. Thank you, colleagues. Bye for now. Let's meet next time. Yeah, I want to say
Thank
bye
you.
bye.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Have a nice evening.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.